Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back another video from Totally Not Mark. I'm quite excited for this one. So we're checking out Rewriting Dragon Ball GT. You guys are aware, I am not a fan of GT. I really enjoyed watching Team 4 Stars commentary on GT, because they were like, whoa. But yeah, so Mark's going to rewrite GT. Oh, and Dimer, I thought the episode 1 was all right. Good intro to the show. Let's do this. Oh, okay. I did not know he could play the piano. Do 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 do.
Maybe it wasn't so bad. About 5 years ago, I uploaded a series of rather scathing reviews on the notorious Dragon Ball GT.
Yep, they were great.
But despite my largely negative impressions of and experiences with the show, I've never shied away from confessing that there were inarguably some truly fascinating ideas toyed with, genius concepts at play, and some absurdly awesome moments that featured from beginning to end.
Yeah, like even in the 4 Stars reviews, the commentaries for this, it was like there were some really, really interesting concepts introduced, and then they just never were able to land the delivery with it.
30 years later, fans are still talking about and enjoying the show, so with Daima looking more and more like Toriyama's version of Dragon Ball GT, I started to wonder if perhaps there could be a way to fix every single issue with GT's writing while keeping it as close to what fans of the series love about it. Well, there's only one way to find out. I'm Totally Not Mark, and today I'm going to try to rewrite Dragon Ball GT. Pray for me.
Do 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 do. I might
To temper expectations, I am
like teach myself that one actually. Never thought.
not going to be rewriting 64 individual scripts complete with
Yeah.
bespoke dialogue performances. That is not what this video is trying to do.
Hey.
What I instead want to do with this video is extract the best and most iconic parts of Dragon Ball GT's 4 recognized arcs, and then discard all of the trash, I mean the rest. Yeah, dispose of the rest, that's what I meant. Doing this will no doubt leave behind considerable gaps in GT's story and open up opportunities for me to get creative, resulting in, I hope, something that feels both like GT, only a little more well structured and perhaps even more compelling. With that out of the way, let's jump into the first arc, the Black Star Dragon Balls.
Let's go.
Many of you watching from the States might not recognize the Black Star Dragon Balls arc as GT's first, and to be honest, that alone proves that the American experiment was both justified and a rousing success in my book. But I'm not here to dunk on the series, at least not that much, and to be honest, there's plenty within even this arc we should acknowledge and preserve for a rewrite.
Yeah, like it's 16 episodes, wasn't it? And then in America, didn't they just not show the first 16 episodes, just jump straight into the second arc?
When one thinks of Dragon Ball GT, you think of Kid Goku alongside his friends searching the cosmos in order to save the world.
The Grand
Foundationally,
Tour.
I'd like to preserve some of this as it offers plenty of interesting opportunities to push Goku and his wayward companions into action. And speaking of companions, in my view, Pan is a necessary inclusion for this rewrite. She offers a wonderful opportunity to tie the past of Dragon Ball into the future of the series GT is trying to establish. She's a largely blank slate upon which to develop an interesting character, and Toei's initial outline for her in those early episodes put forth a wonderful motivation to inform her story. She hates that she's treated like a kid and wants to earn the respect of the greats that surround her.
Yeah, like such a wasted potential of Pan in GT.
So, with that, she's ripe for a great story in my book. Giru, too, is an important inclusion. He's often what I picture when I think of GT, and unlike Pan and Goku, he is a uniquely GT character. Something that I think is important for a show like this to establish and build up in order to set up its own identity. Furthermore, his relationship with Pan felt combative and heartfelt at times. Heck, if nothing else, what he stands to offer the gang in terms of mechanical MacGuffins to help progress the plot could be valuable also. And, okay, let's see. Is there anything else that I want to take from this arc? Spaceship had a cool design, I guess. Dr. Mew, fuck no. Lude? Absolutely not. Okay, let's go on to Baby.
There we go, cool. Okay.
This is where I believe Dragon Ball GT accrued 99% of its existing fan base.
Well, yeah, I mean, they they were very smart in just doing the whole Vegeta thing as well, weren't they? Like, because the rivalry's there, everyone wants to see them fight, so yeah.
A fan base that still exists even to this day. And I know that because they've been screaming at me for the last 5 years. But it's easy to see why they like the show so much, because there's plenty to adore in this section specifically. From start to finish, the concept behind the story as well as its early execution is utterly brilliant. One of the principal challenges Toei faced early on when writing for Dragon Ball GT was in how they tried to make it feel more like an organic continuation rather than a poorly conceived and disconnected cash grab. Toei's recognition and ultimate course correction following the first arc made the baby section
so brutal. That was so brutal. It's like, whoa.
Far and away the strongest of the series narratively speaking. Concocting a storyline born from the consequences of the Saiyan's tyrannical past, it was not only compelling but extremely believable as an organic continuation to prior canon events within the Z continuity.
Yep.
I particularly found the notion of a Tuffle creation like Baby poignant, with him slowly becoming the very thing he was designed to stop, a tyrannical monster destroying and enslaving an alien world.
No, that's good. It's cool. It's like he wants to get revenge, but then ends up turning himself into the thing that he hates the most, and it's just like, whoa, the irony.
This narrative idea facilitates not just a compelling conclusion, but also an emotionally resonant and clear message. That no matter how unfairly treated, revenge always runs with it the risk of only further perpetuating suffering and creating new monsters in the process. There's so much about Baby's execution that I adore, so I will definitely be sure to draw from that when I'm rewriting this section.
Okay.
But there are other disparate elements that I thought worked, such as the sacred water from the Garlic Jr. arc being used to bring folks back to normal during the Baby arc. I mean, if you're writing a non-canon story, you might as well use everything at your disposal, and I thought that was pretty clever. Okay, what else? Let's see, I guess I also kind of liked Vegeta introducing himself as the Earth's defender, and... am I forgetting anything? Okay, yeah, I'm kidding. Did you really think I wasn't going to mention what is possibly 90% of the reason people love Dragon Ball GT?
Super Saiyan 4. Oh, it's just so cool. That when that Funko Pop drops, if it ever does, it will be purchased instantly.
So much. The insanely popular Super Saiyan 4. I'm buying...
Yeah, like, I was talking to someone at work, and they were like, do you know what, the one thing I hate about GT is Super Saiyan 4. It's like, excuse me? What do you mean?
No means a fan of transformations for transformation's sake. I've said as much countless times before, but it's a losing battle trying to keep pushing that boulder up that hill, so let's see what I can work with here. I mean, there's no denying the cultural impact this transformation has had. With its new and striking design changing up the formula of spiky blonde hair, Super Saiyan 4 and how it came about was both novel and emotional. Super Saiyan 4 is one of those inextricable elements that defines Dragon Ball GT's identity. That alone makes it worth preserving in my book, and so it's time to move on to Super Android 17.
Yo. What's he gonna do with this? Is he just gonna scrap the whole thing?
The Shadow Dragons are.
There you go.
The Shadow Dragons are another one of those
I knew it. This is such a terrible idea in the first place.
GT concepts that almost forces you to take a step back and say, you know what, that's a damn good idea. Not only does it marry the show to the extensive past of the franchise, but it does so while also addressing one of Dragon Ball's principal criticisms, that the main cast relied too heavily on the Dragon Balls to solve all of their problems, with each of the corrupted evil dragons emerging from said balls representing a specific wish asked of them over the course of the series. This, just like the Baby arc, is a concept that is prime and ripe for emotional and thoughtful storytelling. It was just held back by one or two rather substantial issues. Furthermore, and I think I speak for most fans when I say this, the final episode of Dragon Ball GT is one of the most thunderously emotional and final send-offs the series has ever offered.
Oh, mate, you know, final episode's great. Like, don't get me wrong. It had, like I said, got its moments. Show's got okay moments, but generally speaking, it's not that great.
There are, of course, arguments to be made here that it might not feel very Dragon Ball due to how final it is, but one cannot deny the emotional impact it has had across the world, and we're writing a Dragon Ball GT rewrite, not a Dragon Ball rewrite. And so, with it standing to this day as a monument to the series we all know and love, I think I now have everything I need to start this rewrite. Now that we have an idea of what we want to preserve, let's see if we can outline or pitch a version of this story that improves things. It's worth pointing out that correcting a story's shortcomings with the benefit of like 30 years worth of hindsight is a far easier task than that which Toei undertook in 1996. In fact, in 2005, a producer of GT, Kozo Morishita, said that in an effort to retain the time slot DBZ occupied, they needed to produce a new story.
Yeah, like, from my understanding, didn't they... The first 16 episodes, didn't they have, like, episodes ready to go? And then people were just not liking it, and it was like, oh, we need to change the story right now.
Anyone's guess at this point as to how long they had to prepare for this creative venture, but whatever the schedule looked like, a plan had been written up detailing 26 episodes worth of plot outlines. However, by the time they had completed the third script, a certain realization was made that this was hella boring.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was. Also, Super Android 17 was so bad that it somehow made a story about merging the mortal world and hell with all of the past villains boring. How do you even do that?
Yeah, it's mad. Like, the amount of characters that are reintroduced, and it's just like, I just don't care.
Now we have two diamonds in the rough to work with, the Baby and Shadow Dragons arcs. Now, something I admired Toriyama for doing during the Saiyan and Frieza material was how well each story thread fed into and informed the next. Raditz sequences into Vegeta fantastically, who necessarily facilitates Frieza's entry into the story also. So jumping from the Black Star Balls to Baby, only to then jump into Super Dumpster Fire 17, with little at all connecting them, robbed the story of consequence and, well, drama. I want drama in this bitch. So, to begin,
Let's get
what
it.
this rewrite needs are character arcs for old and new characters alike. One of the many issues I had with GT back in the day was that it all but discarded the character of Oob, which, God, okay, it makes me angry even thinking about it. Goku had spent the years
Yeah, such wasted potential with Oob as well. Should have done something with him at least.
between the end of Z and GT training this guy, only for them to introduce us to him again and then say goodbye? And even more irritating, it is
Yeah, but the thing is as well, the concept of like him and Boo fusing again to become like a stronger being was really cool as well for me, I thought. But then they just didn't do anything with it.
establishes and outlines a fantastic arc for Pan, only to then abandon it in favor of making her an annoying damsel in distress for Goku to save like 20 times. But to be clear, my issue isn't that Pan gets saved a bunch. My issue was that that's all she was. It culminated with nothing. She's annoying, she gets into trouble, and that's it. In my version of events, Pan is introduced the exact same way, as this energetic girl who's a skilled fighter, eager to prove herself as a warrior to those who have saved the Earth countless times
Hell
before.
yeah, let's go.
It's an interesting and fitting journey for a young character like her to have, and more than that, it's a story that no character in Dragon Ball has told up until now. She wants to fight, she wants to prove herself, and damn it, she's going to in this story.
Love it.
But you know who won't prove himself? Trunks. I don't care if this rubs people the wrong way, but GT Trunks sucks. He is so offensively boring.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Like, and what's mad about that as well is like Trunks in Z, so iconic. Future Trunks is like, whoa, so freaking cool. What a story. Yes, his character design's cool. He's got the sword, all that stuff. And then we get Future Trunks here in the future. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Where did the spunky kid from Dragon Ball Z go?
Yeah, where's the
Who's this
energy?
stick in the mud? And look, I get that he's popular, but Super gave Trunks plenty of love already, and the least my rewrite can do is give his role to someone starved of screen time, like Oob. So with all of that in mind, I would like to open my story the same way GT did, using Goku and Oob's battle within the Lookout to act as both our reintroduction to their characters and the site of our inciting incident. Only this time, this inciting incident will have actual consequences that won't pivot away in 3 episodes. So Goku's giving Oob his final test within the Lookout, right? And in the original show, they almost destroy the structure completely. Well, in my retelling, I want them to actually fully demolish it,
Oh, whoa.
leaving behind nothing but rock fragments. This is where the Dragon Balls with black stars come in.
Oh, alright, cool. Alright, I'm on board. I'm on board. This is cool.
Okay, I can see that you're a bit confused. The issue that I had with GT's Black Star Dragon Balls was that they felt shoehorned in, and therefore the
just that.
looming threat of the Earth's destruction felt vapid. I mean, it sucked. And looking at the trailers for Daima, it seems as though Toriyama found his own elegant solution that didn't involve creating new MacGuffin balls. Instead, he created a villain for them to deal with. This creates the need to go on that adventure, and more than that, it has a built-in conclusion with Goku no doubt coming to blows with this big bad at the end. But seeing as that's Toriyama's solution for his grand adventure, I want to make mine different and instead lean into a solution that both fits the story and the direction Toei ultimately decided to take with the Baby arc. In order to fix the damage that he and Oob caused, Goku insists on using the Dragon Balls to repair the Lookout. While I don't like the Black Star Dragon Balls being their own thing in the original story, I do think the idea of these stars and the Dragon Balls changing to black from overuse, let's say, offers a chance to play with the mechanics of the Dragon Balls, thus facilitating this baby storyline while also foreshadowing the final arc of this rewrite with the Shadow Dragons. By calling forth Shenlong, now in his enormous red form, he emerges to grant their wish. But Goku remarks on his appearance and questions why there's only one wish. Shenlong doesn't respond, but you know what? Goku doesn't much care because all he needs is one wish anyway. He shouts out, "Shenlong, can you undo the damage our fighting has caused?" Shenlong's eyes glow, but something is wrong. The balls, they begin to crack and then shatter one after another, unleashing a cloud of black smoke that quickly escapes into the air. We don't see where this smoke goes, but what it leaves behind is of serious consequence. In addition to their destruction, Goku is changed into a weaker, younger version of himself, complete with a tail. All the while, unbeknownst to the Earthlings, a small but powerful force is released into the universe. So my idea behind this introduction is that instead of the Black Star Balls being some brand new thing, they are instead a corrupted version of the original set.
Yeah, stuff that we've already got established, so it doesn't seem... Yeah, okay.
And much like a computer acts with a virus, they no longer work as intended. The once perfect wish of Shenlong is now granted much more like a monkey's paw. In other words, when Goku said, "Undo the damage our fighting has caused," Shenlong undid not just the damage Goku had caused with Oob, but additionally repaired all the damages the Saiyans had caused other planets' architecture, infrastructure, and technologies. This is where the Tuffle and Saiyan history takes center stage in the form of a flashback, and instead of this being relegated to some short cutaways, I'd like an entire episode, or perhaps even two, dedicated to an emotional story following the slow downfall of the Tuffle Empire through the eyes of an optimistic Tuffle scientist and his family, as he tries to gather materials for and develop what he believes will be his race's only hope for a brighter tomorrow.
Oh, this is cool. I really like this. This is the boss.
Struggling for survival against the tyrannical Saiyan threat, this sequence would operate with a similar desperate tone to that which the first episode of the Future Trunks arc of Super boasted. However, in the closing moments of this flashback, having come within moments of setting this creation into motion, the Saiyans destroy both him and the rest of his people. In that instant, they take everything. That is, until we return to the present day, where the skewed conditions of that wish restored both the lab and within that, the sequencing for this Tuffle scientist creation to begin anew. This is ultimately what gives rise to the birth of the Tuffle parasite, Baby. And so slowly, his journey to Earth begins. All the while back at the newly restored Lookout, circumstances continue to worsen. With the Dragon Balls having met an unprecedented end, Dende too collapses to the floor, unconscious. Okay, so what's up with that? Well, with the Guardian of Earth's life having been established as inextricably linked to the function of the Dragon Balls themselves in the past, I thought it would be an interesting creative choice to link their abuse with a consequence that claps back in the opposite direction also. We know that if the Guardian dies, then so too do the Dragon Balls. So why not, once the Dragon Balls get corrupted,
it happens to, they're linked. It's like the gods of destruction and the gods of creation being linked. You kill one, you kill the other, so, yeah.
By mismanagement, have him too feel those consequences. Needless to say, with the balls having been shattered before their very eyes, Goku's form and strength having been cut dramatically, and Dende now clinging to life, they are well and truly at a loss for what to do. Much the same as GT, I would like to retain the issues and restrictions Goku experiences with this new form, preventing him from traveling to Namek himself. Thankfully, however, Goku has a contingency plan, King Kai, who, acting as an intermediary, bridges the gap between Earth and Namek to see if they can use their Dragon Balls to help their dire circumstances. But after having explained what occurred on Earth, the Namekians' response is bathed in apprehension. They express that for generations their people sought to protect these sacred orbs from being abused, scattering them across their planet under the protection of different villages and their elders. In past centuries, these communities would encounter champions or travelers that have voyaged far and wide that sought out these sacred balls. However, even then, they would need to pass a test of cunning or strength.
Travelers had to put their balls to the test.
In order to do so. But, as they explain, many failed. On its face, this introduction might seem cool and dramatic, sure, but to others they may also see this as an introduction full of drama for drama's sake. But I assure you that is not the case. Instead of a big bad, the overarching crux of this story will be the circumstances surrounding the Dragon Balls and the consequences that stem from their abuse. And through taking this approach by reappropriating the visual of the Black Star Balls as an inciting incident for both Baby and as a prelude to the final arc itself, I think it's not just efficient, but thematically in keeping with both this story of Baby and the eventual Shadow Dragon's tale. The emphasis I place on the Tuffles backstory demonstrates this. The themes of the Baby arc are, in my view, what hoist that story head and shoulders above every single other part of GT by a country mile. And more than what cutaways alone can offer, these dedicated episodes tell the story of where Baby came from. The struggle of oppression the Tuffles faced combined with staggering levels of hope. These are the seeds that blossom into the arc of this alien parasite, and this is the story. And so, at this point, you might be thinking that I'm going to now rewrite the rest of the Baby arc, but in truth, I want to keep the majority of it as similar as I possibly can because I don't want to change what isn't broken. And while I do want to place Pan and Oob in positions of greater prominence, there are elements of the original's execution that were truly brilliant. The motivation to create a creature to end all the suffering the Saiyans have caused is admirable. It explores how one's desire for justice can so easily trespass into the realms of revenge. And so I would like to take that one step farther by establishing Baby not as an evil monster outright, but as a misguided entity with an overly simplistic view of right and wrong.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, so then eventually starts like losing itself and becoming what we see as the villain at the end, which was never the original intention. I like that. That's cool.
A sense that ultimately takes him down a negative change arc. I love the concept of him slowly making his way across the galaxy, infecting who he can in subtle ways until he finally arrives at his destination, planet Earth. Furthermore, I love what GT did with Goten now that he's all grown up, and I found the choice for him to ultimately target the Prince of the Saiyans both fitting and exciting. The only thing I would change about Baby is that through this slow progression up the totem pole of power, in addition to him restoring Vegeta's tail, because let's be honest, they gotta do that, what they did in GT was stupid, he could also gradually lose sight of the good he was designed to achieve. No longer acting as a protector, instead slowly revenge starts to consume him. And again, unlike GT, I don't want Goku to be as absurdly powerful as he was. I think nerfing him not only opens up Baby, now wielding Vegeta's power, to feel like an even bigger monster, but it too creates opportunities for Oob to show what he's got. Operating in a world without any Dende to heal his allies, or Dragon Balls to bring back the lives that were lost, I want Oob to be the force that stands between the Earth and certain destruction in the second act as Baby goes from strength to strength, becoming stronger and stronger within Vegeta's body. However, Oob isn't the only one who's learned something from Goku. In my version, Pan too has trained with them as she has gotten older. And so, in this rewrite, I'd like there to be a moment where Pan is presented with an opportunity to make a save or significant contribution to the story, only to come up short and place herself in life-threatening danger. And as Dragon Ball stories often do, to make matters worse, in order to save his daughter, Gohan is killed by Baby.
Damn. I'm intrigued as well whether he's going to go with giving Pan the Super Saiyan form as well. Like, is that going to be a thing he's going to go forward with? Or,
The result of his daughter's failure. Having successfully killed another Saiyan and about to move on to Pan, distraught by what she has just seen, she erupts from beneath the rubble as a Super Saiyan.
Oh,
but
yeah.
This isn't a triumphant, badass...
Oh, there we go.
Or any moment like that we would have assumed it would be based on the history of this series. Instead, she is incensed and not thinking clearly, which results in Baby dismantling her easily, requiring Oob to show up via instant transmission to take her back and regroup with Goku. By the time we arrive in the final act of the arc, while he still retains his composure and believes that he's doing the right thing, Baby has well and truly grown a tremendous contempt for these Saiyans and those standing in the way of his righteous mission. Naturally, I mean, it is Dragon Ball, fighting does take place in the final act between the remaining forces of Earth, Goku, Pan, and Oob. But to cut a long story short, Baby is pushed to his limits and forced to rely on the very transformation which brought about the end of his creator's life, family, and race, the Uzaru. And through doing so, because he himself isn't trained in that form, begins to thrash around, mindlessly destroying everything. It's a grim and sad story that sends a really important message. That no matter who you are or how righteous your cause may be, if revenge and hatred are at the core of what moves you, then you too have opened yourself up to becoming exactly that which you despise.
Yeah.
And amidst this chaos, as he thrashes around an enormous building, Baby sees his reflection on the glass facade. What he witnesses is the same vicious monster that haunted so many before him. Now, this is a moment of potential reconciliation because to me, reducing Baby to a black and white evil villain robs this story of the potential it has. Standing as a golden Uzaru, looking down at Goku and the other Earthlings willing to lay down their lives for this planet against him, the conviction he once had in this mission crumbles like the civilization he's destroyed, enabling Vegeta, who has been fighting to escape Baby's control all of this time, to push him out and regain control.
Alright, let's go. Boom. Alright.
Unlike Baby, Vegeta is fully trained in this state.
Yeah,
but
he knows
more
what he's
than
doing.
that, in his golden Uzaru form, recognizing what hangs in the balance if he doesn't stop Baby here and now, Vegeta transforms into the series' first Super Saiyan 4.
Ooh. Vegeta does it. Cool. Love it.
Reducing Baby to a cowering mass in an instant, ultimately Goku steps in and tells Vegeta that Baby is done, that he's not a threat to anyone anymore, that we aren't his enemies. Listening to Goku and having averted his eyes momentarily, Baby seizes this opportunity and escapes into the rubble out of sight, not to be seen again for the rest of the arc. And so, that's my Baby arc. It's honestly largely the same with a few tweaks to characters in prominence and a refocusing of the message of the story.
So Baby's gonna come back. Baby, my baby back, baby back, baby back.
Ultimately. And just like all the best arcs of Dragon Ball's past, seeds have been set since the beginning of this retelling, and you
Well
best
ago.
believe I am going to use the consequences of this arc to inform the next. With all of the sensu beans consumed in the struggle against Baby, Dende out of commission, and the Dragon Balls yeeted from existence, the Namekians feel the heavy debt that they owe these Earthlings, and recognize that they have defeated a monster that could have indeed destroyed the universe had they not intervened. And so, they activate their Dragon Balls and ignore the black stars that they brandish. Their wish being, Purunga, please bring back and restore everything and everyone that was destroyed on Earth. And with that, the events of our final arc are set in motion. Everyone, welcome to the Shadow Dragon arc.
Let's go. What?
The Shadow Dragon arc. Yeah, okay, that's right, you heard me, okay? So, not Shadow Dragons, we're dealing with just one. You see, one of my biggest issues with the original concept was that so much time was spent dicking around after other dragons that amounted to little more than a distraction. I like the idea of creating two, perhaps, but because I'm short on time,
The twins
and I
were
am
cool,
not
but
designing
alright.
two distinct dragons for my editor to animate around in this video, we are going to contend with just Omega Shenron. But I will add a twist to make up for the lack of other dragons, so don't worry. With the wish made, Gohan and the others are restored to life and the destruction undone. But in the same way Shenron vanished, so too does Purunga prematurely on New Namek, leaving behind nothing but a few shattered shards and some black smoke that too escapes into the atmosphere. The unforeseen consequences of this wish, despite its careful wording, results in the emergence of a devastating new foe. Okay, so you might be wondering, where does this dragon come from? Well, the black smoke that escaped into the sky both at the beginning of the Baby arc in this retelling and on Namek just now has traveled at great speed a great distance to one specific location, the former site of the once great planet Namek.
Oh. Alright, cool. Yeah. Because they're on New Namek, aren't they?
With the unforeseen consequences of the Namekians' wish being the life of the dragon Shenron restored. But with Dende out of commission and the balls inactive or corrupted, the smoke is violently swirling in the black and cold vacuum of space until a silent, draconian warrior emerges named Omega Shenron, the combined force of Purunga and Shenron together. Large in stature and frame, his face turns to contempt and sorrow as he stares through the vacant space planet Namek once occupied. Looking off towards Earth, he takes flight at great speed. Back at Earth, with Goku critically injured and no other option available to heal him, he is transported to the best medical facility in West City. So, with this, you have your typical Goku is in critical care situation, all the while a monster is coming to attack the Earth. But again, because I want this story to give some shine to the next generation, I'd like Gohan and Oob to investigate the sudden arrival of this foe first when he arrives, with Pan having disregarded Gohan's wishes for her to stay out of it, following quickly in tow behind. But when she arrives, she doesn't find her father and Oob fighting a successful battle against this monster. What she finds are both of them incapacitated.
Just straight out the bat, just like, boom, I am the bad guy.
Standing by her father's side, Gohan comes to her and tells her that he can't move and that she needs to travel to Korin's tower and hope beyond hope that they have one or at least a partially grown Senzu bean for Goku to take. Initially hesitant to leave her father behind, Shenron sets his sights on Pan. Inches from grabbing her, an explosion of red aura erupts beneath the rubble. It's Oob. With one punch, he knocks this monster through a vacant building before turning his attention to Pan. Exhausted, he shouts, "This might be all I've got left. I don't know how much longer I can hold him off, but do as your father said and go get Master Goku!" Sensing Pan's frantic energy rushing towards Korin Tower, using his magic carpet, Popo teleports to Korin's place and retrieves an immature small pip of a bean. It's all they had, but it's better than nothing.
Oh no, it's so tragic.
Using his carpet's teleportation abilities, he brings Pan to the medical facility where Goku is resting, explaining that they don't have much time and that by now Shenron must have disposed... But before he can even complete that sentence, Shenron cuts him off. Trying to reason with him, Mr. Popo asks why he's here, what's going on, but Shenron remains silent. Raising his hand dispassionately to destroy both of them, Oob once again appears between them and he. On the verge of collapse and having used the last of his energy to teleport to their side, he accepts his fate, willing to take this blast if it means Pan and Popo survive.
You can't let Popo die, like, come on.
But surprisingly, the attack doesn't come. Shocked by this, they all look to Shenron, whose attention isn't on them, but is pointed squarely towards the rooftop. It's Piccolo.
Oh.
Touching down, after just a moment, something in Piccolo tells him that he knows what this creature is. Something inside him forces a sentence out. In Namekian, he utters, "Who are you and why are you here?" Shenlong speaks for the very first time, explaining to Piccolo that he has come to Earth not for revenge, but to restore balance to the universe after the abuse of the Dragon Balls. Naming both Vegeta and Goku as the main culprits responsible for the damage done, it's thanks to them that Frieza and his minions sought out planet Namek in the first place. It's because of Goku's refusal to avoid conflict with Frieza that caused the planet's destruction, and it's due to the Earthlings' actions that both Shenlong and Porunga were pushed to the point of destruction in just a few short decades.
God damn, this is really cool. Oh my god, it makes sense. It's...
He views these individuals and the Earthlings as ultimately self-serving and seeks to re-establish the natural order. Now, that might seem like a bit of a tone shift, and I understand that this might run the risk of coming across as, I don't know, a little severe and serious, but in truth, my vision for this isn't intended to be that at all. What I am trying to highlight, however, with these story footnotes is what I believe was GT's biggest issue. It was trying too hard to look backwards and recapture that magic in a bottle, trying to cash in on that Dragon Ball 1980s nostalgia when they would have been much better served only looking back to inform what comes next, the future. The original Dragon Ball was wall-to-wall lighthearted adventure fare in the beginning, but eventually, even prior to Z, Toriyama started to play with increasingly darker themes. And when Z eventually did come around, he turned that aggression and intensity up even farther.
True, yeah, that's
so
true.
much so that by the time the end of the series rolled around, this once lighthearted adventure tale with naive characters had transformed into a far more serious and complex action epic. It certainly wasn't outright complex by standard terms, but it had become most certainly more complicated. And looking back, the progression is stark, but it was always gradual and most importantly, moving in one direction, forward. And so, in keeping with the final creative note Dragon Ball Z ended with, my goal with this story and the ending I will soon be sharing with you is to present a version of Dragon Ball GT that progresses the story while feeling informed by the past. And to fully achieve that, I want to borrow another aspect from the original GT. The original Shadow Dragons left a lot to be desired, to say the least, but what I thought was very interesting was that they each represented a specific wish made on the Dragon Balls.
Yeah, it was a clever approach. Decent. Yeah, like I said, like, really cool concepts.
Each of them a physical manifestation of the past misuses of the balls themselves. And while I only have one dragon, I do love the idea of his power being derived from the accumulation of wishes rather than the absorption of individual dragons. Each of these wishes, or a host of them, could be caused by a single individual, a single Earth's defender. And so, seeing as Piccolo is chatting with Shenron right now, let's use him. He's been responsible for some of the wishes made, and also responsible for the messes that required wishes to be fixed. And so, I kinda love the idea of these two squaring off not just as a test of strength to determine the victor, but also a test of maturity. A test for Piccolo to prove that he's undergone a reconciliation completely. This could offer him the opportunity not just to jump in to rescue those that he loves, but to go all the way and outright declare that no harm shall come to this planet or the people that inhabit it as long as he's still breathing. These fights could very well take place across the entire series, with Shenron getting the better of them. However, in the process, despite their defeat, thanks to the valor of their efforts, his power slowly starts to be chipped away, gradually, until he comes face to face with the most formidable opponent, and arguably the man responsible for a large portion of the wishes made on both sets of Dragon Balls, Vegeta. But I don't want this to be a simple fight like Piccolo's was. Instead, what I want to do is use this as an opportunity for Vegeta to demonstrate his ability not to let his hunger for battle get in the way of his judgment, and instead demonstrate cunning strategy in the name of saving the most people he can.
It's interesting that he went with Vegeta getting Super Saiyan 4 before Goku and that, because it's just like, I just don't see... I know it's Mark's interpretation, but like Akira Toriyama would never make this kind of decision.
And to emphasize and carry out that vision,
It'd always be Goku
I want
first,
to use
like...
Trunks. In Dragon Ball Z, the way Vegeta treated future Trunks was cold, to say the least. So much so that I could see him regretting a lot of the time he wasted being so self-serving.
Yeah.
And so,
baby
what
boy!
if, instead of facing this threat head-on, in preparation for it, he takes Trunks to the Room of Spirit and Time for as long as he can afford to. And through that, we see the stark difference in the mentor that he has become, with the results being an eventual battle and story climaxing not in just a show of tremendous power for Vegeta, but instead a show of tremendous pride, not in himself, but in the warrior and man that his son has become, proving in the process that he, Vegeta, is not only a changed man, but no longer the egomaniac that led to so many wishes being made in the face of so many atrocities. I think this reconciliation could be really powerful, and in finding out where Shenron gets his strength, he could volunteer to give up his life if it means atoning for the sins he's committed on Namek, on Earth, and across his life.
Because we get that in the Super manga, don't we? Like he's is it the Moro arc where he defends the Namekians because he feels guilt for what happened to them the first time around. So yeah, I can totally see that with Vegeta's character progression.
The conclusion of this bout would be the defeat of Vegeta, much the same as Piccolo, but the dramatic weakening of Omega Shenron even farther, culminating in the restoration of the Namekian Dragon Balls, which sets up the events of the final fight perfectly. Now, naturally, I want Goku primarily as the focus for the majority of this final clash, with the fate of the Earth hanging in the balance. Now, naturally, I want Goku primarily here as the focus for the majority of the final clash. I mean, it is his last hurrah. With the fate of the Earth hanging in the balance, his friends taken by Shenron, and slowly losing power, despite putting up a commendable battle, despite understanding why he's there, Goku collapses to the ground. And so, with Shenron marching now steadily towards the defeated Saiyan, it seems his fate has been sealed. However, despite being totally drained of every last ounce of energy that he possesses, Goku smiles and says, "I know you're there, you know. I kinda need your help." And with that, suddenly, King Kai immediately replies, "Huh? How did you know that?" Equally shocked at the sound of King Kai's voice ringing in his head, Goku's confusion is hastily pushed to the side as time is very quickly running out. King Kai explains that the Namekian dragon has been fully restored and that since they only used one wish last time, there are 2 more wishes Goku can make. It's at this point our perspective then shifts to that of the approaching Omega Shenron until he stops, dead in his tracks. To his and our amazement, Goku has jumped to his feet more nimble than we had seen him since the start of the story. With speed, he assumes the classic fighting stance for what we now know will be his very last time, and as he does, he smiles and says, "Oh, It's a relief the Namekians got their dragon back. Those folks have been through enough. I've gotten to fight more than my fair share of strong guys during my lifetime, but you're definitely the strongest. It's a good thing the Earth has never needed to rely on me alone. Enraged by this, Shenron rushes Goku, exclaiming, "You arrogant fool, to think after all of this you still abuse their magic!" But just as soon as he finishes that sentence, Goku's legs give way beneath him. He falls to the floor, barely conscious. With a smile on his face, he whispers, "Thanks for the boost. I needed it," as the entity known as Baby relinquishes control of the Saiyan. This entire circumstance
I was like, come on, he's got to be bringing it back. There must have been a reason. Yeah.
was a massive distraction and one that granted Oob the chance to emerge unseen, armed with a powerful Genki Dama.
Yeah, this is so sick. Oh, mate, this is so
Towards
cool.
Shenron, it seems as though the world is saved. However, while it grazed him, the bomb is successfully dodged. Now hurtling towards Pan, who too has been devastated by this battle alongside her grandpa, the fate of the world rests heavily on how she reacts to this very moment. Her bravado is gone, and her confidence has been shaken since her failure in the prior arc.
So we're redoing Krillin dodging back the thing. What's happened to my phone? Where's my phone? It's okay.
However, cutting through the doubt, she hears a lone voice exclaim, "Bounce it back!"
Yeah,
It's
we
her
go.
father.
Yeah.
If I can do it, you can too! With this beautiful callback to Gohan's moment of outstanding bravery during the Saiyan arc,
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Pan,
Gohan
now
bouncing
brimming
it back,
with
yeah.
conviction, plants her feet, spikes this Genki Dama with deadly accuracy and godly power towards this unsuspecting dragon. Sent flying into the air, but with a smile, Shenron fades, and with his departure, so too do the skies fall into total darkness once again. The Earth's dragon has been restored. This whole story then concludes with the final episode of GT, which is almost perfect, but I do want to make two small changes. Firstly, I want everyone who's there to rush Goku and ask what his wish was for, only for him to then reveal that he never made a wish, because that's what got them into this mess in the first place.
That's brilliant. That's so good. But then what's happening with Baby?
In the end, he just bet on the strength of his friends. Looking at Pan, he says that the Dragon Balls are going to be going away for a while, that they may return someday, but he cautions them that once they do, they need to rely on each other and not their magic, the very same way he placed his trust in them today. He anoints Oob as the Earth's protector before shifting his attention to Pan specifically. He tells her that she saved the world well and truly and that he never doubted her, not for a second. All the same stuff happens in this wonderfully emotional closing segment, but like I said, there is a second change that I would like to employ.
Which is?
As we skip forward in time to the World Martial Arts Tournament, Pan sits as a doting grandmother watching her grandson when she sees what she thinks is her grandpa Goku for the first time in what must be 50, 60 years.
God damn.
Scrambling to get a better view, as soon as she gets close, he vanishes. However, looking down at where he once stood, she finds an old memento and a sign that
Full
magic
stop.
has once again returned to the world of Dragon Ball. And that's how I would have written GT. As a conclusion to all of the disparate threads of Dragon Ball's story, addressing as many interesting angles that harken back to the past as I can, while using as many elements of what made GT popular with a primary focus on establishing the future. Because if there was any lesson to truly be gleaned from Dragon Ball, it's that the adventure never really ends and that there's always another formidable challenge waiting for us around the next corner. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I've been totally not Mark, and thank you all so much for watching.
That was really good. That was really cool. That was boss. I really like that. There you are, Vince. Boom. Yeah, very cool. That was very, very cool. Like, some of the stuff was, yeah, it made sense. I love that he just completely skipped the Super Android 17. But, no, some good decisions. Keeping Baby was an interesting one. Goku didn't turn Super Saiyan 4 in that whatsoever. Vegeta got the form. Yeah. I really, really liked that. That was cool. So yeah, anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video and want to be able to watch Patreon-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. That is greatly appreciated. Thanks for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know that I should watch discuss future videos. I'll see you guys, next time.